latest generation Ranger, especially with the Raptor in the lineup, finally gave Ford a serious answer to the Tacoma in the midsize truck segment. Toyota had dominated this class for years, but the gap between these two trucks has never been smaller. The Japanese carmaker made one controversial move, dropping the V6. That decision changed the balance a bit. But depending on what you want from a midsize pickup, the Tacoma may still have some important advantages. So, picking a winner isn't as easy as it used to be. In this head-to-head comparison, we are putting the 2027 Ford Ranger versus the 2027 Toyota Tacoma, and looking at everything that matters: power, capability, off-road performance, interior, technology, practicality, and of course, value. By the end, we'll see which one makes the better buy for 2027. This is probably the most important thing when you're buying a working mule. How much can it tow and haul? How long can that powertrain keep doing it? And how much fuel does it need along the way? Both trucks sit near the top of the midsize segment, so this is a close battle. Toyota made the controversial decision to retire its legendary V6, replacing it with a smaller turbocharged four-cylinder. The new engine works fine, and in some situations it is actually stronger, but plenty of longtime owners still miss that naturally aspirated character. The Japanese company went even further with the hybrid powertrain. It's an even bigger step away from the traditional Tacoma formula, and it hasn't become the favorite configuration for most buyers. Still, electrification is spreading across the entire industry, so this setup will likely become a much more important part of the lineup in the years ahead. Ford, meanwhile, keeps the Ranger lineup focused on gas-powered setups in the US. There is a possibility that the plug-in hybrid system already offered in other markets could eventually make its way across the Atlantic. If that happens, Toyota may have even more reason to expand its own electrified options. But that's not the only overseas Ranger we'd love to see here. The Super Duty Ranger is the really wild one. In Australia, this heavy-duty version can tow up to 10,000 pounds, but uses an oil burner, so bringing that exact configuration to America would require some changes. If Ford could deliver similar capability with a US spec powertrain, the Ranger would suddenly become much more than another Tacoma rival. It could completely change the pecking order in the midsize truck class. When it comes to design, these two trucks are surprisingly similar in one important way. Both give buyers a huge range of personalities. You can build either one as a basic work truck, a comfortable daily driver, or a serious off-road machine. The Ranger has some standout touches of its own. The large portrait-style center screen gives the dashboard a modern look, and the available Pro Power onboard system turns the truck into a useful mobile power source. Tacoma answers with an equally broad lineup. The available 14-inch touchscreen is one of the biggest highlights inside. The ISO dynamic performance seats on the TRD Pro bring a very serious off-road touch, and Toyota's clever storage solutions make the cabin feel designed around actual truck use. The Trailhunter adds its own personality with equipment aimed at overlanding and long-distance adventures. Neither truck has a clear knockout punch here. Both offer plenty of configurations, useful technology, clever storage, and different trim levels for different types of buyers. At this point, styling becomes a personal decision. This is where the Tacoma has built its reputation over several generations. The TRD Pro remains one of the best factory off-road packages in the midsize truck game, and Toyota managed to protect that reputation even after replacing the old V6 with a turbocharged four-cylinder. Still, anyone who has spent years driving an older version probably misses that naturally aspirated engine. When the new Ranger arrived, Ford didn't initially offer the Raptor in the US, and that left a pretty obvious hole in the lineup. It didn't take long to see the demand, and the blue oval eventually brought the high-performance version. Now the Ranger Raptor gets 405 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque, along with serious hardware designed for much more than crawling over rocks at low speed. If your idea of adventure means technical trails, camping, and crawling through difficult terrain, the TRD Pro deserves serious consideration. If you want to attack rough terrain at speed and have a truck that feels more like a desert racer, the Raptor is the obvious choice. This is another area where these two rivals are surprisingly close. From the entry-level trucks all the way up to the expensive off-road versions, there's plenty of overlap between the Ranger and Tacoma lineups. Toyota does have an advantage if you're looking for something with a more premium flavor. The Tacoma lineup includes upscale limited trim that pushes the truck closer to the luxury side of the segment, and Ford doesn't really have a direct equivalent at the top of the Ranger range. The picture changes once we get into serious off-road territory. TRD Pro and Trail Hunter can become very expensive, and their pricing makes the Raptor look especially tempting. Of course, most buyers aren't spending that kind of money. The majority will end up somewhere in the lower or middle part of the lineup, where the two trucks are much closer in price. That's also where equipment, available packages, and dealer incentives can make a bigger difference than the badge on the grill. There is another advantage to both trucks: the aftermarket. Both the Ranger and Tacoma have huge potential for customization, from suspension lifts and wheels to bed accessories, protection equipment, lighting, and off-road gear.